we're doing?
We're on.
Wow. Hello. We have some special guests today.
Yeah. Ready to introduce yourself? No?
This is Everly.
I'm Levi.
There are two kiddos.
For the day, we rented them out for this video. They're getting paid handsomely, and then we send them back to their parents so that we don't have to change their diapers. No, you're not getting paid. This is our 10-year-old and our 5-year-old, and we wanted to have some discussion on what we're talking about today, which is a better way to talk to your kids about food. Figured since we're talking about talking to kids, let's bring kids on.
Sure, they'll say something we might regret, but for now, it sounds like a fun idea.
So where are we right now? What's happening? Do we need to introduce ourselves?
Yeah, I guess so. So I'm Megan, and this is my husband and business partner, Steph. And together we help people in all kinds of situations, whether they're trying to, lower their cholesterol or they feel stuck with losing weight. We help them figure out what makes sense for their lives and a realistic way to lose weight, lower their cholesterol, and just overall be healthy.
And to give them habits that they can pass down to their kids. That's a big part of this.
Good time.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we have a blog that I'll be kind of reading through a little bit, but we'll also be discussing it as we go along. So if you'd rather just read the blog, that's fine. Let Megan know, or just message us or whatever. We can send you the link to that. But there's definitely going to be more here that we're talking about beyond just what's in the blog. So even if you've read it, you might get something more out of this.
Yeah, just message me or write it in the comments, and I'll link you to that blog if you prefer to read it.
All right. So no one wants their kids to grow up having the same struggles with food as mom or dad.
I agree.
Good. Glad we're off to a good start. Unfortunately, though, other than the food pyramid, have you ever even seen the food pyramid?
Bananas.
Oh, okay, so you're thinking of like predator, prey type of thing. Yeah, being at the top of the food chain.
Yeah, so you know what a pyramid looks like.
This is a different thing that we learned when we were kids. That was basically worthless. And so other than stuff like that, or just advice like finish your plate, eat all your food, most of us, beyond those things, got our nutrition education from diet culture, which leads to a mindset of good foods versus bad foods, making it instinctual to simply tell our kids things like, don't eat more of that, it's not good for you. But what does that really mean? Is having a scoop of ice cream the same as ingesting a bottle of motor oil? If it's bad for you, should you eat it at all? Since it's not realistic to think that we're going to give up treats and convenience foods forever, that good versus bad mindset perpetuates a cycle that leads to confusion about what's actually okay to eat. It can lead to guilt because we don't like and eat the bad foods. And it can lead to an unhealthy life for your kids because they haven't learned how to do it otherwise. So, well, hopefully we'll find out if that's true today. We're going to test you. So we use a different approach with our kids, and that's what we're going to talk about, and give an actual education. And a better way to teach your kids is to eat a more balanced diet is by talking about 3 specific concepts. The first one is nutrients. Do you want to say what nutrients are, Levi, without reading? I'm curious how you would describe it.
There's no wrong answer. This is what we say.
Foods that are better for you than others.
Okay. So you're distinguishing the difference between some foods have more nutrients than others?
Yeah.
Okay, you're on the right track. So rather than foods being bad or good, we think of them as how many nutrients they have, or what types of nutrients they have. And you're right about that. And he understands this. Now, rather than just good or bad, let's talk more about what nutrients actually are. And what they really are is they're the things that are inside of food that give our bodies what it needs to be healthy so that it has lots of energy and so that you can grow up big and strong. We have a crying girl over there.
Continue, and then I'll be right back.
All right. So some foods have lots of nutrients. Can you give an example of food that you would say has lots of nutrients?
Fruits and vegetables like banana and tomato.
Perfect. Those are perfect examples. Yes, fruits and vegetables are the best example of things that have lots of nutrients. And we try to eat those things more often. Some have less nutrients. And I won't quiz you on this one, but things like white bread, that's totally fine to eat too, but we try to not rely on those things quite as much because it just doesn't have quite as many nutrients as other foods. And then even things like candy, that has nutrients. It just happens to have more of certain things than what our body actually needs, which is why we try not to have them all the time. But there's still nothing wrong with enjoying them every once in a while.
We call stuff like that sometimes too. Like it's okay to have sometimes.
Like it's my homemade cookies.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
which you're great at making.
Thanks.
So that's nutrients. So just understanding, having your kids kind of understand what nutrients are, and then we break it down a little bit further. So the next concept, the next thing to talk about is what I'm calling the big three nutrients, which are protein.
Carbs and fats.
Very good. So almost every food has some combination of these big three nutrients, and the goal is to get a balance of each. And it can be helpful to point out to your kids or learn right along with them which foods have more of which specific nutrient. We have some examples we can give of this. If you want to know more, message Megan. She can send you some helpful info for that.
Yeah.
Now, our kids know that if their last snack, I'm not even going to let you look at this, kiddo. If your last snack was something like goldfish crackers
Or Cheez-Its.
or Cheez-Its,
That's more.
That's not
Okay.
okay, what would you say?
pretzels.
Pretzels, and that is a
Carb.
okay, so that's a carb. So if you were to ask us again, I'm still hungry, what would we likely tell you?
Fruit, vegetable, or protein.
Fruit, vegetable, or protein? Sure. Yeah, because and I will say it could include a fat too, but that's less likely that it's going to be one of those things because he doesn't like that as much. Yeah. So, but that's exactly the point, is that he knows that we're going to say, okay, you just had a carb, so let's have a protein. Let's go grab a Greek yogurt. Or peanut butter is the example I gave for a fat. He doesn't like peanut butter. But even like he said, fruit, which is technically a carb, but it's a higher quality carb than the pretzels he just had. He knows that's going to be a better option. That's going to have more nutrients in it, right?
Sometimes before dinner, mom says if they're hungry, not have fruit and vegetables because she doesn't want us to have a fat for dinner.
Or vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can eat it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so teaching your kids what each of these things are so they can just make healthier choices and feel empowered now is also gonna, like, they're also gonna remember making those choices. Oh yeah, like I should probably have a protein or a vegetable later.
And now learning these things does take time. It's not like it's going to be instant where you can just say protein, carb, fat. Now we all know what these things are. So, but you will be surprised. Your kids will pick it up really quick. You just think of how fast kids pick up on learning another language. They can pick it up probably faster than you even will be able to. Although it is a simple concept, so it's definitely something that the entire family can learn really easily. So you've got that, and then the next one, and this is something you've already mentioned a few times, but we'll bring it into its own category, is veggies. So aside from those big three nutrients, there are tons of other little nutrients. In fact, the technical term is micronutrients, but that doesn't even matter. Like, you don't have to get into that. The point is that there are a whole bunch of other nutrients, and the best way to get them is with veggies. So just saying that veggies are good for you, that's not something that's super inspiring for a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 37-year-old. But if you understand nutrients and you know that the little ones in veggies are what are going to help, if your kids understand that's going to help them not get sick as often, it can increase their brain power, it will help them get stronger and have more energy so they can run faster, jump higher. That's going to lay a foundation that's more likely to stick as they get older.
I like to tell parents, like, find out what your kid really likes. So, Levi, what's your favorite activity?
Probably playing outside. Like, I don't really have a favorite.
What about playing on the Switch?
Well, that's fun.
Okay, yeah, you like to play outside, and you like to play on the Switch. Okay, so here, you know what, your carrots, eating your carrots can help your eyes get really good at playing video games. And so you find different ways to encourage them to try the foods that are going to support the things that they love. And so I can't think of a veggie that's good running away at home and help you run around outside, but like having a balance of protein and carbs and fats during the meals is going to help you have that energy to run outside.
Well, the point is too, is not that your kids aren't going to completely stop resisting you and all of a sudden love veggies. But just saying eat them because they're good for you is not going to encourage that as much as saying these other things. So that at the very least, as they get older, we don't say those types of things to Levi as much because he already understands the concept of nutrients in veggies, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have to it almost sounds like tricking. It's not tricking. It's laying that foundation so that as he's older, he understands okay, I need to eat these veggies because they have all these things, and I understand what they're doing for my body, and it's not just mom and dad force me to eat this even though it's nasty.
One of my favorite vegetables is a cucumber.
Oh yeah? I actually didn't know that. What are your favorite vegetables?
Well, cucumber, I like kind of carrots you put in soup. Whatever would be favorite.
Just diced carrots.
She dices them. That's the magic of her carrots.
Well, then they're soft too. So like soft carrots, we don't like raw carrots.
No.
Right, okay. And you like, I know you don't like roasted broccoli.
But I love steamed broccoli.
Yeah.
I don't really care between cauliflower, but I actually prefer cauliflower.
So he's particular, just like adults are in the different things we like. And so he's allowed to have that choice in the house.
Yeah.
Not choice. I love to have that voice.
You give them the choice sometimes.
Yeah, if it makes sense and I'm not having to cook something totally separate and I have some leftover steamed broccoli and I made roasted broccoli, he gets the steamed broccoli. We just try to be mindful of his preferences, if they make sense. But I'm not going to be spending time making 4 different dishes for people.
Right. But you're also going to make steamed broccoli for him sometimes,
Yeah.
even though you don't prefer it.
Right.
Because you know that he likes it. And even though it's not our favorite, it's fine.
Yeah.
So,
It's fine.
so we're gonna make it for
Get
him.
over it.
Yes, finding those things. And so here's, I guess, with all of these 3 things, so we have the nutrients, just understanding nutrients, understanding the big 3 of protein, carbs, and fats, and then understanding that veggies are going to give you a whole bunch of other little nutrients. Having that foundation is going, and having them understand that is going to help make it easier for all of you to make these decisions on how to eat and not have to cook different things for different people and just feel like you're all doing this together as opposed to just trying to force it on them.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I don't want you to beat yourself up when you don't get this right because you won't always. Talking to your kids about food isn't something, it's not about getting it perfect. Sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it really is just easier to say this is healthy or not healthy, and that's totally okay. So just like with your own nutrition, and what we would tell you with that is the goal is just to be a little bit more consistent about the choices you make and the words that you use when you're talking to your kids. It's that consistency rather than unrealistic expectations of perfection that's going to pay off in the end, just the consistency. So, and more important than any of this that we're talking about right now is how you feel about your answer to this question, which is, what are they learning from your example? Because the truth is, you can't force habits on your kids that you haven't established or that you're at least working on for yourself. They're too smart for that. Why are they going to stop resisting you and buying something that you clearly don't find valuable enough to adopt in your own life? So, and I know it's not easier, but it definitely can. I know it's not easy, but it can get easier. And wouldn't it be nice if your kids didn't have to fight so hard to break all of these old habits when they grow up? That's what we're trying to do with our kids.
Trying to equip them to just have that better knowledge, better foundation, so they don't struggle with, the endless things we learn through diet culture culture and how to love your bodies and feeling strong and not tired throughout the day. I mean, just the list goes on and on with all the struggles we see, but
Yeah.
that's kind of, I know there are a lot of parents I've talked to, they like, I wish I would have had a better knowledge of the food that I know now. And they want to change that legacy for their kids. A lot of our clients are working on that.
Yeah, if that's what you want, you have to start with yourself. I cannot repeat this enough. You cannot force this on your kids unless you are adopting these things and seeing results for yourself. And we have a guaranteed way to work on these things and actually improve your health so that you can feel good about what you're passing down to your kids. We guarantee that what we will can help you work on this so that your health improves, your kids' health improves, their habits get better altogether. And if you're interested in that or just knowing more about any of this, be sure to message Megan or either one of us and let us know.
Or just a comment to get to you.
Do you have any other things you would like to say?
Well, with Everly, she used to not really like steamed broccoli, but I got to really like it by calling the stems stumps. Broccoli looks kind of like trees, so now she wants it.
Yeah. And so part of this process is like approaching your kids and communicating to your kids and also just showing them that you can have a good experience with food. And if you feel like that is a piece that feels overwhelming, that's something we can help walk you through too. Where like, I don't even know, like my kid freaks out if I put the vegetable on. Like, how do I even approach this? And that's a lot of the conversations I'm having this month. I'm having guest speakers talking about eating and how to approach that. But it's something that we can break down and show you how to work through.
No, I said I was going to test it, which I was joking about. But how do you feel about answering a few questions and seeing how you do?
Sure.
Okay. Let's talk about different foods. Let's talk about chicken. What is it?
I'm not looking.
What is chicken?
Pretty.
I'm hungry.
Okay.
What is your favorite protein?
No, I don't have a favorite.
You don't like protein?
I
If,
do.
Okay.
if we told you to go get a protein right now, what do you think you would grab?
Probably yogurt or maybe cookie.
There you go.
Great yogurt.
Those are definitely a couple of his go-tos.
Yeah. What about the carb?
I might have a fruit or maybe some of the pretzels we have.
You like to have cinnamon raisin bananas too, right?
We're
Okay, add it to the shopping list. What about fats? What kind of fats do you like?
What fats do you use the most?
probably the oil one that's in there.
I was gonna say oil is a lot, or even when you're cooking for yourself, if you make eggs in the morning.
I put it on the pan.
Yeah.
So oil, could be oil.
Oil's definitely a fat.
Yeah, it's one of the more common ones I think that he probably uses more than anything else. Everly uses more cheese. And here's something is that we're kind of just like talking now, but cheese is, there's nothing wrong with cheese, but there are even better choices you can make with cheese. When you make a grilled cheese, what do you usually use? What are your favorite things? Or like the cheese you put on your omelet most recently? What kind of cheeses are you using?
Pepper jack. There's this cheese called honey goat smoked Gouda.
I think so.
It's really good. It's not spicy and it tastes good. And I also was using, what was it? Do you remember?
I'm not.
I don't remember the exact names.
Aged white cheddar.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
some different ones. Well, what we do is we go to the fancy Kroger that has all the different cheeses and we look at the sample bins for like the 5 and under and he picks a few of the cheeses out that he likes and that way he can like experiment with flavors with his grilled cheeses or his omelets and it helps him make better choices and be more excited about the food that he's eating.
Yeah, none of this is any crazy stuff that we've done where we're like, we're gonna eat healthy foods, so here's what we're eating, now eat this. It's been a slow evolution over time of finding the different things that everybody kind of likes, including kids, and having them be a part of that process.
I have something to add. Did you want to do your quiz now still?
No, he answered, he got enough stuff.
Okay.
I was gonna ask him about the hand guide stuff too, but,
Okay.
okay,
Well, I was gonna, let me go here first.
okay.
So one of the things, like, he knows what proteins he likes because the kids have a list of, they each have their own breakfast and lunch list of meals or foods or snacks that they like to eat, and they know how, he knows how to make everything on that list. And Everly is agreeable to eat the things on there. And we work together to build that list so they have those choices, and it's not always like, oh, what do I eat? I'm just gonna have mac and cheese. So it gives them the opportunity to make a few choices on their own, but you guys can work together to curate what is on the list.
We've also used all of these concepts that we talked about is to help them understand how to build their own meals by incorporating the hand guide, which is what I was going to ask you about. Is do you remember? We don't do this all the time because it's more of a not advanced concept, but it's definitely something that kids don't have to worry about as much as long as they're just understanding about what nutrients are and getting a good balance of kind of everything. But with Levi, he's old enough where we have talked about this and used it where we've said, okay, you need this much protein, you need this many carbs, this many fats, this many veggies. Do you remember what they are?
Pretty sure.
Okay.
A fist of veggies, a pound of fat.
Yep.
A cupped hand of carbs.
Yep.
And a pound of protein.
Good job.
Yeah. So he knows that if he's looking to put different types of foods on his plate, that he kind of knows what they are because he knows what these proteins and carbs and fats are. He also knows how much is a decent amount. So he's not just taking one piece of broccoli. He knows like, this should probably look about what the size of my fist is.
Yeah.
And that's how much he puts on his plate.
Yeah, and that's the same concept we teach our clients is how to portion food with the hand guide. And the beautiful thing about it is all our hands are so different because they're proportionate to our bodies, and it's a pretty good guideline for just learning how to portion food and be consistent with it so you can make some healthy changes.
That's easy enough that like I said, especially for anyone really, but especially for kids, it's not something you're going to do all the time. But just having that control in your mind is going to help a lot because you're going to recognize this is how much I should have on my plate, this is how much I do have on my plate, and that visual's going to be there even if you literally don't compare it to your hand every time. You'll still have that kind of in your mind.
Some solid foundation that they can kind of lean on intuitively.
Yeah.
That which I think all of our clients want and don't have. Our current clients.
And that's the point, is that he's going to have that, our kids are going to have that because we're slowly teaching that to them over time.
Yeah.
So
There we go.
that's it. That's how we recommend the things to talk about with your kids about food rather than just saying good or bad, eat this, don't eat that. And it's the same thing like we work on with our clients for adults. So let us know if you have questions, leave a comment. We're happy to help.
Yeah, we'd love to have a conversation, see care what you're struggling with.
Now do a high five and then freeze in the air like the end of an 80s movie. Go!